It seemed to Mohammed like a miracle had blessed his car. We're alive, he thought. As the Blackwater forces retreated, Mohammed told Janan he was going to check on the man who'd been repeatedly shot by Blackwater. It was then Mohammed's world crumbled.
I opened my door and got out. When I got out of the car, my nephew said, "Uncle, Alawi is dead." My sister started screaming, and I turned to look at Ali. I turned and saw that his window was broken. It was shot. I looked at him, and his head was resting at the side of the door. I opened the door to see if he was okay. I opened the door and he started falling out. I stood there in shock, watching him as the door opened, and his brain fell to the ground between my feet. I looked at his brain on the ground, and I pushed him back into the car. I told my sister that they had blown his brains out. I started to scream, "They killed my son, they killed my son." I was turning and screaming. People were standing on the roof of a nearby building saying, "Get out, get out." But I was in another world. They killed my son and I was looking at his brain. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. I reached through the window to check his heart, and it was beating. I told my sister, who said, "Let's rush him to the hospital. Maybe he still can make it." But I knew his brain was on the ground. He's gone. I turned the car, which had no water, no tires, and I spun it around. I drove towards Yarmouk Hospital.
At the hospital, Mohammed was told that because of Ali's severe head injuries, an ambulance would need to rush him across town to a neurological hospital.
Riding in the ambulance, I was completely destroyed. My son was dying in front of my eyes. He was suffering, his arms were shaking, and almost pulled out the IVs. So I held his hand still. He died. What can I say? My son. Up to the night before his death, my son never slept alone.
That night, Mohammed returned home, and his father greeted him at the door.
I love my father. He is my friend, my life, and my father. He hugged me tight and said, "Son, be a man, don't break down." Everyone else, my mother, my sisters, all broke down in tears. My wife told me, "I want my son from you. You took him, now give him back." She looked me in the eyes and said, It is you who took my son. I don't know what you're talking about. I want him back. What can I say? I don't know what to say. I was speechless.
Mohammed later returned to Nisour Square to gather what pieces he could find of Ali's skull and brain. The family then laid Ali to rest in the Shiite holy city of Najaf.
My son died innocent, at an age when there are no strings attached. He flew up to heaven like a white dove.
After Ali died, the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad contacted Mohammed, offering his family a $10,000 condolence payment, making clear it was not a remedy for what happened and not a substitute for any potential legal action against the shooters. Initially, Mohammed refused the money, but the embassy pursued his family, urging them to take it. They eventually did, but with one condition, that half the money be donated to the family of a U.S. soldier killed in Iraq. Mohammed's wife Fatima delivered the gift to the U.S. Embassy.
This is a gift from Ali's family to whichever family you choose, the family of any soldier who lost his life for the sake of Iraq. I want to give it as a gift. I know it is insignificant, but it is an emotional and moral gesture from us to them.
Mohammed carries around a letter sent to his family by General Ray Odierno, the commander of U.S. forces in Iraq. Your substantial generosity on behalf of the families of fallen American soldiers, Odierno wrote, has touched me deeply. While Mohammed and his family mourned the death of Ali, half a world away in Washington, D.C., Blackwater's owner, Eric Prince, was summoned before the U.S. Congress.
The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Blackwater, Prince said, had been the victim of an armed ambush by Iraqi insurgents at Nisour Square, and he defended the conduct of his men, saying they had, quote, acted appropriately at all times.
You do admit that Blackwater personnel have shot and killed innocent civilians, don't you?
No, sir, I disagree with that. I think there's been times when guys are using defensive force to protect themselves, to protect the package they're trying to get away from danger. There could be ricochets. There are traffic accidents. Yes, this is war.
Mohammed watched those hearings live and was outraged.
I wish they would ask the head of Blackwater, did he think that this child was a threat to his company? This giant company with all the biggest weapons, guns, and planes. Was this boy a threat to them?
At the hearing, a State Department document was produced revealing that before Nisour Square, the department had coordinated with Blackwater to set a low payout for Iraqi shooting victims because, in the words of a department security official, if it was too high, Iraqis may try to get killed by our guys to financially guarantee their family's future. Despite Prince's brazen denials, the thought of suing Blackwater didn't cross Mohammed's mind. He didn't